Hello, everyone. Yes, you are welcome to this live session. So, guys, we've got some topics that we want to look into. One of them is the ruling of the Supreme Court, on the matter about Hope Uzodinma, and this case has raised more dust. It has really raised so much dust because Nigerians are not happy with what they are seeing. Nigerians are not happy with what they are seeing, the way the Supreme Court is going this time. You can really see that judicial hijack. You can really see it. I mean, since this sitting president came into power, the judiciary has not been itself. So many people have like more confidence in it at all. So the most shocking thing about this ruling is that the lawyer that took this case to court was even fined, and they gave him a fine of about 40 million naira. That's Mike Ozekhome. He's going to be paying this money as fine for bringing this case of Hope Uzodinma to court. And don't forget that Peter Obi is still battling his Supreme Court case because they didn't give a judgment. They had to just like give a chorus kind of judgment, and they directed it to Atiku Abubakar. So there was no specific ruling on the petition that Peter Obi filed, which he appealed, by going to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave the PDP presidential candidate, who is Atiku Abubakar. So it means that the Labour Party does not even know what the Supreme Court ruled on all that Mr. Peter Obi presented to the court. So that is what is now trending. That is now the topic on ground. What is the Supreme Court saying? Because this matter is not going to die anytime soon. Peter Obi does not have a judgment from the Supreme Court. Peter Obi does not have a judgment. So I'm going to be reviewing a video with you guys where the spokesperson for the Labour Party has come up to like make the world know what is happening, that the Supreme Court did not rule on the case of Mr. Peter Obi. And I tell you, the judiciary must stand up to respond to this, because since this topic came out, they've not responded. They've not said anything. They are just silent about it. And we can't just take it. Or at least Nigeria has outgrown this stage. How can you go to court and they told us they've ruled? You cannot find it. They didn't give you any piece of the judgment, the ruling that they gave. You don't have anything to like say, okay, yes, I've gotten the ruling. Let me even go through it. There is nothing like that. And even the chorus ruling that they gave, there was nothing that was specifically directed to Peter Obi to be done in order to recover our judiciary. So this case of Hope Uzodinma, if you've been following this channel, Dr. Te has always made reference to this topic. He told us how the Supreme Court, declared that the APC in Imo State didn't have any valid candidate. They didn't have any valid candidate, meaning that they didn't have any candidate for the election. And then after the election, the Supreme Court now still gave the certificate of return to Hope Uzodinma. They initially ruled that with all the mess up in the APC then in Imo State, that they didn't have any primaries, meaning they didn't have any body as the candidate. So meaning they didn't fill in any candidate. Let me just put it that way. But at the end of the day, they still allowed them to emerge as the winners of that election. I mean, the party, meaning that Hope Uzodinma now became the governor, and people began to question that. So Ihedioha did not rest. He still kept going to the Supreme Court, and finally the Supreme Court has ruled. But please don't forget that before this Imo State election, the Supreme Court just woke up one day and told us that they were going to give us a ruling on this matter. So people were like, wow, let them give it. Let's even know if Hope Uzodinma is supposed to even be on the ballot for this last election that occurred. It was not, I don't know if it was up to 24 hours, that trending topic just disappeared. They said they've shifted it indefinitely, meaning that the ruling is not going to come anytime soon. So that is what they finally gave today. That is the judgment you are seeing today. And they've ended up holding Hope Uzodinma as the one that won the previous that uh, gave Hope Uzodinma the opportunity to be the governor of the state. Reacted because he is the one that took this case to the Supreme Court on the behalf of Ihedioha, and shockingly, the Supreme Court has given him a fine. Do you think that this is not like trying to shut people out or to any court in Nigeria? Because you should be worried. What if you should be fined and you are not even sure of getting the case, in your own favor? You are not sure of getting the ruling in your own favor. And what if you are given additional fine? What happens to you? That is the nation we are into. So let me just play this video and so that you listen from Mike Ozekhome. This is a ruling that was handed over today at the Supreme Court. Just listen to the way he reacted to that.
For pulling out, but you still stood on your ground to ensure that the court has jurisdiction. Could you expatiate?
Yes.
And any regrets?
Oh no, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I will do this over and over and over again. It is based on the conviction of my spirit. It's based on my scholarship and the research I did. Not out of pride or arrogance, but that this court, being the apex court of the land, is not just a court of law and a court of equity, but to and in our jurisprudence. That was why the Supreme Court itself said in Ozekhome Motors Limited versus Adesanya that a lawyer should not be afraid to bring a case to the court and tell the Supreme Court to reverse itself or reverse its judgment, and that a counsel should be bold and courageous to do so. But in our own case, we were not even asking for a revision of his judgment of 20th December 2019. We were telling the Supreme Court to give judicial imprimatur to that judgment, which said that APC had no candidate and that it was a case of illegality, and that time does not run against illegal matters or illegality or matters that are unlawful. We were merely telling the court to give effect to that their judgment. The judgment concerning Hope Uzodinma and Emeka Ihedioha delivered on 14th January 2020 did not bring about that issue of illegality. It was on the general elections. So it was this order held that section
where he talked about when he got
it was illegal would not be counted, and that Peter Obi's tenure will start on the 2nd of May 2007 because the tenure before him was illegal. So this court has made it clear again and again that when it comes to matters of illegality, the court will not assist a party to reap the fruits of illegality. So that is why I have no regrets in standing on my ground, on my feet, to argue this matter to conclusion. Earlier this year, I would do about three matters, when I felt that they were patently pre-election. This is not a pre-election matter. We were not asking, we are not appealing. There's no appeal before the Supreme Court. It is too well known. It's elementary that the Supreme Court has 60 days from the date of judgment to deliver a judgment. So we were not appealing. We were rather telling the court to give legal imprimatur to its own judgment, which it had delivered. That is the word of difference. But the Supreme Court, being the apex of the law, has disagreed with me. And I've taken it in good faith. That is why I'm a scholar, I'm a lawyer, by God's grace, a professor of law. And tomorrow is another day. So we lawyers should continue to bring up these matters forward so as to allow the courts to open them up, open up new vistas. For example, when we finish argument, the Supreme Court said ruling. And they asked me jokingly, are you surprised that we are going to deliver our ruling? I said, my lord, sir, that means from the beginning. Because we were just finishing argument. We thought the ruling will now be read, or will now be written. But
so guys, sorry, I think this he said when he got to the court, he was asked if he's surprised that they are going to be giving the final ruling today. He was like, oh, maybe you've even seen the end from the beginning. He was telling the judge. One of the judges was asking him, are you surprised we are going to be ruling on this matter? So he said they've just finished arguing. He was even thinking that the ruling is going to take place maybe later in the future, only for one of them to approach him and tell him that, do you know that we are going to be giving final ruling on this matter today? And he said he was surprised before now. So they've already arranged this before they even came to court, you know. They've arranged it. This is the kind of judiciary we have today. No doubt people keep calling them out, you know, when it comes to corruption, and they are trying to, you know, tell the public to stop denting them, but they will not do things the right way. It is this same Supreme Court that told us that APC did not have any candidate for that election. This same Supreme Court asked INEC to give the certificate of return to Hope Uzodinma when people have gone to court, spent their money, because they had confidence that the Supreme Court had initially ruled that APC didn't have a candidate. So when you are going to court on that ground, you know you are going to get something reasonable, you know, as a response from the court, only for them to get to court, and then the court now disappointed them by asking INEC to give Hope Uzodinma certificate of return. Now, this lawyer still took it upon him to go to the Supreme Court again to remind the Supreme Court that you once ruled that the APC was not even supposed to be a party in that election. How come Hope Uzodinma is now the governor of the state when APC was not supposed to participate? At the end of the day, what has happened? They've given him a fine of 40 million. So what do you think? What's the implication of all this? We've seen Dino Melai is saying that there is no point going to court because he will end up wasting his money, wasting his time, and all that. He will never just part of the APC, and that is what we are seeing. So under the leadership of President administration, a lot appears the judiciary is now owned by a certain group of persons, or is owned by the ruling party. I don't even know how to put it. You will hardly get justice. Hope Uzodinma is not supposed to be occupying this position as the governor of the state, because this same Supreme Court said APC didn't have any valid candidate for that election. Now they are finding a lawyer. They are finding him 40 million for bringing a case to court that he wasted the time of the judges. So guys, that is it. That takes me to Peter Obi's case. We all know that we've been on this matter of Peter Obi and the judiciary. So this case has been on the social media lately. People have been lamenting that up to today, the Supreme Court has still not given us copies of the judgment for Peter Obi's appeal at the Supreme Court. So today, Mr. Tanko was on Arise Television and he made it open that this is just like, this is strange when it comes to the Nigerian judiciary. We know that before now, people have always complained about corruption, but the level we are seeing it now is something imagination. Can you imagine somebody like Mr. Peter Obi, who we believe won the election, went to the specific, we didn't win the election. They couldn't, like all the things Mr. Peter, take for instance, the Abuja something, Abuja 25%, the for future, and other things that Mr. Peter Obi, the valid, invalid votes that we had, like the blood sheets and all that. There are many prayers that Peter Obi took to the tribunal, which the tribunal ruled, and Peter Obi didn't find it, right, he didn't accept the ruling, so he had to go to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has just given a chorus ruling. They merged Peter Obi's prayer or Peter Obi's appeal with that of Atiku and gave a ruling on that, which Atiku has taken to be his own ruling. So Peter Obi is left without any ruling, no final judgment on the appeal taken to the Supreme Court. So just take a look at the reaction coming from
of the judgment that affirmed President Tinubu as the winner. Opposition parties are increasingly convinced that the judiciary is deliberately leaning on the side of the ruling APC party, a move which they see as biased, unjust, and a clear danger to Nigeria's democracy. In the latest developments, the Labour Party is accusing the Supreme Court of not delivering judgment in Peter Obi's legal to the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the 20. In fact, the Supreme Court did not deliver any judgment at all in the Labour Party's case. So how significant is this? What kind of countermeasures are they planning to take? And are those measures pragmatic enough, or is this perhaps more of the same sore loser response from the opposition, as the APC has suggested? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Kaduna by one of the Labour Party's most public-facing. Dr. Tanko, thank you very much indeed for joining us. What on earth is going on with this Peter Obi Supreme Court judgment that we all thought had been signed, sealed, delivered, but now, according to the Labour Party, is undelivered?
Okay, let me quickly clear this particular issue and elucidate and amplify on the matter. Now, on the 25th of October, the Supreme Court wrote us and informed us that there will be judgment passed on our case on the 26th of October. And on the 26th of October, our legal team were at the court. Interestingly, even by the numbering on the files, our case is SC/CV/937/2023, while that of the PDP is SC/CV/935. Labour Party is to abide by the judgment that will be passed on the by the PDP. Now, unilaterally, he took that particular decision without any consultation with our lawyers, whether we have consolidated on this particular matter or not. in which there seems to be any form of correlation is on the one. Our case is very, very clear. One, we took the issue of forfeiture. Secondly, we took the issue of double nomination. Thirdly, we talked about Section 73, subsection 2, which nullified the election where records are not being put according to provisions of the law. Then finally, there is the issue that we raised about 18,123,000 void volume result that was recorded on the RF, which is a certified true copy of that particular of those particular result of the election. Now the Supreme Court is in its own thinking just completely ignore these particular issues that we've raised, and then they pass it without us the certified true copy of the judgment. And according to the Constitution, Section 294, subsection 1 of the Constitution says that you will pass and give judgment. If you pass a judgment, you will give the judgment to the party. Today, as of now, from 26th of October to the 4th of November 2023, we are almost like 40 days difference. So it is very, very appalling and unacceptable for us to see that those who are supposed to be who adjudicate and, you know, forces the law are the ones seems to be breaking the law. Unconstitutional, then I wonder where we will go as a people. This is the situation in which we find ourselves. As we speak, we don't have the certified true copy of that judgment.
Well, I was going to raise the issue of that certified true judgment. How do you read the fact that you haven't got it? I mean, what are you interpreting as the reason why?
Well, I just told you, first of all, when we were giving notice of the judgment, we were giving the judge the notice in writing, and we all complied. And now, remember, at that point in time, there was this particular issue as regard to the forgery case issue of the office holder, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which the PDP was pursuing vigorously, and there was attempt in which they want to deal with that particular issue as a reference point. But then, of course, the Supreme Court have a right of giving this judgment within the point of November, which is the time frame that was given. So they were in a haste. They were in a haste to ensure that they passed the so-called choreographed judgment that they want to give to the Nigerian people. So inevitably, everybody was just surprised that the Supreme Court is already ready to give judgment. So the hasteness in it has made them to commit so much of blunders. Because if they have taken their time to give judgment at its when due, probably they would have been ready with the written result and written judgment as it were. But the hasteness has caused them. You see, when you want to commit a lot of when you want to commit a lot of false pronouncement, you make a lot of mistakes and leaving clues behind. Now, on this particular matter, it is already an established fact that the Supreme Court has not given us a copy, a CTC copy of that judgment 40 days against the constitutional provision of 2 weeks. It is on record. Whether they give it today or tomorrow, they have already committed that particular mistake. And then, of course, I don't know. They are the court, and they can decide on what to do. Already in Nigeria, people have lost a lot of trust in our judicial system.
Well, some legal analysts, beyond the issue of the time period, which I believe is 1 week, within which they're supposed to deliver the certified true copy of their judgment to you. Some legal analysts have said that the Labour Party is displaying ignorance of the judicial process because when it delivered the judgment, the Supreme Court said that the Labour Party will abide by the judgment delivered in the PDP case. But your argument is that the facts were not the same and that the court needed to deliver separate judgments. But you didn't raise, did you?
Let me make a let me explain. You see, those who are presidential tribunal court, right from the beginning, the justices made it very clear that we are going. The lawyers will sit down and arrange and agree on consolidation of their cases together. And that was agreed. The question you want to put into this particular Supreme Court judgment is that were there any time in which the lawyers were being asked to arrange and agree on the cases together? I just mentioned the filed cases. They are different. Even by number, one is 37, one is 35. There was no time in which our lawyers were asked to consolidate, even in public. What the judge did was just said it unilaterally. And it is binding. This is my position. This is our position. But then we have
Sorry, I think my mic went off. Citizens begging them because there've been this outburst about the number of persons they took to Dubai for this the climate conference we've been talking about lately. But he's here begging his people because he doesn't want anything like protest. He doesn't want anything that will disrupt the peace of the people. And look at him begging the people of Namibia. Which politician wants to beg you in Nigeria? You can go to hell. Nobody cares. That's the kind of people we have in leadership. Who wants to beg you in Nigeria? Nobody wants to beg you. So his people are lamenting how many people were taken to this conference, who went, and why should they be part of the team that went. And he is the one now coming out to tell them that they should please calm down. So the rep has issued warrant of arrest on the CBN and others. These are just some headlines I want us to cover. Northern group calls for sacking of defense chief, army chief over bombing of civilians in Kaduna. We covered this topic yesterday, where people were just busy, enjoying themselves and having a sort of celebration, only for the army to mistakenly release their hell on them. And so many of them, we have 200 plus persons who've lost their lives already. People are like saying this is operational mistake, and why should this kind of mistake even happen in the first instance? These people, when they see the bad people they are supposed to destroy, they will not destroy them. But civilians who were having phones, at least, no matter where you are, you will sight to see that there were even young people among them. There is no way you mistake them for the bad boys. And at the end of the day, lives have been lost. Tinubu delivered the most embarrassing speech at COP28. He must apologize to Nigerians, to me frank. So we've seen that video yesterday where our president was talking bala blue and blah blue and all that. So many people have come out to like say the speech he gave, even the people who were listening to him, the panelists, they were like, Mr. Man, what do you even mean? We couldn't pick one or two things from the speech you gave. As the Nigerians, they've been this outrage. What kind of embarrassment is this? Some people tell you it's a stage fright and he was not confident enough and all that. Tell me, where is he going to get the confidence? Somebody that, he has a drug trafficking case, forgery, and all that, snatch it, grab it, run with it. So many things around one person. Tell me where he will summon the courage from to speak before that congregation of persons. So I believe that was what led to what happened, possibly stage fright. And he picked from there and picked from there and nailed them together. At the end of the day, that he should come and apologize. That is it for you. This is the Nigeria of today. You can see the citizens speaking from underneath the table while we have the master on the seat enjoying himself. So Nigerians are the ones suffering while they go to Dubai to cruise life and to enjoy themselves. Nigerians are not finding all this funny. The way this government is going, you can see that it's not something anybody can just applaud for wasting the little resources that we have in Nigeria today. So guys, yeah, these are some of the updates I felt I should bring to you guys. Let me know what you think about this judiciary of a thing, because it's really getting out of hand that Peter Obi today does not have a rule said what the judgment that was given at the Supreme Court. We don't have any copy. Do you think afresh? Do you think they should revisit this case again and rule? And even if they should even revisit it, do you think they are going to rule in the favor of Peter Obi? No, the judiciary has been hijacked. The judiciary has been hijacked. And I tell you, this nation is not going to go forward with the current state of things. We don't expect progress with what is happening now. The judiciary does not have that boldness to resist this political class and do their job passionately. And also, INEC is like bought over. INEC does not have that power to like stand on its own and do things without looking at faces. This is the challenge we have. So what do you think could be done to remedy this situation now? Because the INEC chairman cannot be sacked by any other person, if not the president. You can't just sack him. So if the president decides to uphold Yakubu's position as the INEC chairman, even until 2027 election, how are we going to navigate ourselves out of this mess that we are already into? What do you think about it? Because we have to start thinking on how to, remedy this situation, because for these politicians, they are even enjoying what is happening. All the things that happened during this election, no, people could not come out to protest. People are afraid. So for them, it's jubilation that we have won. And when people like Dino Melaye comes to tell you that they are not going to court, in short, nothing good is good. It's even empowering these politicians, because they know that even if they snatch the ballots and run with it and grab it and they are declared as winners, number one, the opposition will not want to go to court. Number two, the citizens will be scared to protest. And then what happens? They will retain their seats that they've stolen. The mandate they've stolen will become theirs. So Nigeria is really in a mess, and it's really a pity to see us, instead of moving forward, we are moving backward. When Buhari was there, people said all kinds of things about Buhari, how Buhari has destroyed Nigeria. Some people said Buhari has taken us 100 years backwards. Some people said 50 years backwards. But look at it now. With this kind of leadership we have, a country has lost its judicial and they've lost them in place, you don't have a country. When people cannot vote and their votes count and they decide who becomes their leader, and you cannot go to court and expect justice to be given to you when it is clear that you are supposed to get justice, but you can't get it, what kind of nation is that? So that is where we are as a country. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section, because we cannot just keep quiet and just allow this country to keep sliding. Let us all wake up and stand up. Do our own little contributions as patriotic citizens so that this country can be remedied. I'm giving to Mr. Mike Ozekhome for wasting the time of the judges bringing the case of Hope Uzodinma and Mike Ihedon and Mr. Ihedonha to the Supreme Court. So people will be scared now taking their cases to the Supreme Court, because you may go there and they will find you, and not even a small money. 40 million is a big money for somebody, you know, for somebody who is like working for himself. He's not a politician. If he was to be a politician, he can easily get the money overnight. But now he's not a politician, and they are finding him 40 million. I don't think that's a small money. So let me know what you think. And also, we've made reference to Mr. Peter Obi, that he hasn't gotten a judgment from the Supreme Court, and it is more than 40 days now, and still no judgment has been handed over to him. What do you think about all this? And like I keep saying, we should be cracking our brain on what next. How are we going to navigate the affairs of this, you know, our plans in rescuing Nigeria, because power belongs to the people. So guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tomorrow, let's dissect all that has been happening. All this period he has not been around. So he'll be available tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you and have a good night's sleep. God bless you. Bye.